Ah, all this lovely merch. Isn't it wonderful?
We're now in the tournament, which means every single match eliminates a robot. That means major spoilers ahead, even bigger than usual.
This week we talked to King of Kinetic Energy, Ray Billings, Bunny from Malice, and we're actually going to do things a little bit differently this week, and we're going to talk about our personal favorite fights, and just have a little chat, a little banter, a little back and forth.
It's going to be great. I'm Smog from Team Merch.
We're Mike and Andrea Galately from Team Witch Doctor.
And this is a Tale of the Tape after show. Welcome to the Tale of the Tape after show. Let's get started with our 30-second recap.
30 seconds on the clock! This week we saw Tombstone takes all of Mad Catter's 9 lives. We find out the gap between the arena and the wall is approximately 1 hijinks wide. Beta uses the ugly armor and croaks, and Slammo gets hit like a Brazilian times.
Bunny's death stare is no match for Gigabyte. Whiplash beats Huge fair and square without using any silly attachments. Valkyrie takes flight and sticks the landing. HyperShock lets Hydra flip them 13 times just to keep promoting their secret store.
It worked. Some of you probably caught our secret QR code on the bottom of HyperShock and may have found some of our merch. But we're not the only ones with merch. All these teams, all this stuff, you can get from the teams themselves or from the BattleBots web store. So you got to go to their Facebook page, their Instagram, go to their website, go to the BattleBotStore.com, and find your favorite team stuff.
Something unique about Bots FC is that while a lot of other teams have shirts and jackets for merch, we have scarves. We're big fans of soccer at Bots FC, and the name references the term football club that soccer teams all around the world append to the end of their name. In our case, it stands for Fight Club, Bots Fight Club. So all around the world, in stadiums, at soccer events, the supporters will hold up their scarves, cheering for their team, spinning them around, or of course wearing it when it's cold outside. So it all comes back to our love of soccer and supporter culture. You can get your own at botsfc.com.
A lot of teams seem to think that we have the most merch out of all the teams. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that we do the most customized merch requests. Here's one of our vinyl cutters. There's our larger vinyl cutter. Here's 2 of our 3 3D printers. Here is our sublimation printer, which prints designs like this, which you then bring over to the heat press and place onto, sorry, I just finished pressing these. You press it onto the socks and it puts the design that you printed onto the socks. We can make everything from t-shirts to face masks to bags, whatever is needed for our custom requests.
You might even find some technical T-Rex merch like we're wearing, or some robot parts for sale if you get really lucky.
My precious. On our first deep dive, we're going to talk about Gigabyte versus Malice.
Yeah, this one's one that I had no idea which way it was going to go. Both robots are horizontal spinners, and with that big shell on Gigabyte, it was really tough to predict.
And there was a lot of damage. I mean, Malice's disc is all sorts of banged up and missing some bits. And Gigabyte didn't come out scot-free either. They even lost some of the nuts holding the teeth into their shell.
I heard it took Malice over 7 hours to get that weapon back up to fighting condition. So let's hear it straight from Bunny.
Our team came up with the concept of Malice when our David Triforce, our 3 Davids, David Lau, David Rush, and David Small, decided that Rush's smaller robot, Odium and Animus, would do well in the heavyweight division because it had been very successful in the lower weight classes. We at Malice highly recommend starting in the smaller weight classes simply because it's much less expensive to prove the concept will work in the lower weight classes. Malice works by spinning a very thick drumette or thick disc horizontally to hit the other opponents. We sacrificed reach to have a drum instead of a bar, but doing that allowed us to have a more sturdy blade at the hub. We found the biggest issue with other horizontal spinners was that they would shatter or crack or fracture at where the hub mounts to the bar because there's just less material there to absorb the force. And having a drum or thick disc prevents that from happening. We have more material to absorb the force, so it becomes a much sturdier blade. Malice's weapon is run by a 4.8 horsepower motor called a Moto Energy 0909, an ME 0909, an E-Tech known to the builders. It spins with about 50,000 kilojoules of power. This means it spins at about 50% less speed than Tombstone does, but we have a greater transfer of force with our hits. We are able to hit harder than Tombstone does. This gives us a much greater damage potential. The best part about Malice is the ease of working on it. Because it's a clamshell, which means two pieces compressed together design with through bolts, we can open up the entire robot and reach every single portion. And that means that we don't have to reach into any awkward corners that are like welded together or just in an awkward place. We can just lift the whole robot apart and everything is easily accessible. During the match with Gigabyte, we lost our Vex BB speed controller. That allows our drive to go forward and backwards. When we lost that, he was able to hit through our 1/4-inch titanium motor protector, our weapon motor. He actually signed it for us after he did the damage. This is a 1/4-inch thick titanium. It is very difficult to get through this, but he was able to do it. And then in addition to that, he also hit our weapon brace. And this was where our shaft sits in for our weapon. In addition to those couple of items, he also did a lot of damage to our main weapon, taking chunks out of the aluminum that we use to support our hardened steel blade. It was a big hit, and it was an amazing fight, and we're so happy to have done it. Longest to repair was the actual weapon itself, because Lincoln Electric took an hour just to fill in the aluminum that had been taken off by Gigabyte. And then after the hour of welding, there was also 7 hours of me taking an angle grinder and bringing it back to its original shape. And that, replacing the brushes on the E-Tech and getting the rest of the robot back together was fairly quick. I would say probably an hour or two. Also, Ray Billings helped us create this specific ring here. We had originally made this out of aluminum and showed him the design, and he said that it was gonna be too bendable and too malleable and to switch it out to steel. So Ray Billings helped us with this spinner, and I hope to face him someday.
For our second deep dive, let's talk to Tombstone, who finally gave us a reminder of why exactly we call him the king of kinetic energy.
Everyone keeps forgetting, like, oh, Tombstone had a bad fight, so clearly they're out of shape or something. Like, oh, there has been. Wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Yeah, you see him dismantle Mad Catter piece by piece, and I mean, if you watch the slow motion replays, you can actually just, every hit, you see parts coming off of Mad Catter left and right. And I mean, he did what he does and just dismembers these robots. And
laughed hysterically while doing it.
Go.
So let's talk to Ray and figure out what exactly about Tombstone makes it so timeless.
Let's talk to Ray and see why he makes these ridiculous noises.
Tombstone is a horizontal bar spinner, obviously. It's sometimes called an offset horizontal bar spinner. And it's a design I've been working on for a long time. So the first version of this was a heavyweight called Shin Splitter. I want to say 2002. And so since then, I've made several heavyweight versions, super heavyweight version, a bunch of middleweight versions, a lightweight version, and a 30-pounder. So it's a design that scales really well and one I've been working with now for almost 20 years. We didn't do a whole lot of new things for 2020. The frames that we used for this year were from the previous year. We just repaired some damage to them. So we didn't make any new frames. Still running basically the same drivetrain, weapon system. All those things were basically the same from the year before. In the rotator fire, we ended up burning up the last of my spare speed controllers of that type. And so we had to upgrade to a different type of speed controllers for this year. And that sort of forced some changing of the electronics and stuff inside. So that was really the only updates we did for this season, was changing out some of the electronic packages. And for the most part, I was happy with that. We've got some more work to do there, but we've got some things there to change. And we've got a lot of big plans for changes for the next season when we get back. For the weapon bars in Tombstone, I've got a couple of different general designs. I'll either have one that's solid steel of some type, either AR, S7, something like that, or I'll have a lighter version like aluminum or titanium with steel teeth. And how we go about choosing those for different opponents is one of the few times we actually get into some arguments in the pits between me and my teammates trying to figure out what's going to be the best combination. I like to have something sharper to dig into any of the wedges. So if I'm fighting any of the high quality verticals with a wedge on the front, I usually try to stick with the solid steel ones, either the S7 or the AR. The AR was new for this season. We hadn't run AR weapons before, and they hold up better. You don't snap, they don't crack. But they don't necessarily dig in because material isn't as hard. So I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with those next season or not. I may go back to making them out of S7. The aluminum bar with the steel teeth is great because it maximizes my moment of inertia. All the weight is out on the end of the bar, so it hits harder. The downside of that is that you can end up losing a tooth. And if it's out of balance like that, it'll just shake itself to death. So it's a gamble one way or the other. Any of the other big horizontals, I'd prefer to use that because it actually gives a little bit of cushion when the two weapons strike each other. The aluminum will flex a little bit. And I can usually, for the same weight, I can make the bar longer, and so I can get a better reach that way. And so that's why sometimes I'll use those weapon bars. I'm not how I ended up with a villainous laugh. That I'm not so sure. I think that's just part of my personality. I laugh that way away from television too. So I don't know what that says about me, but it's just the way I find the world humorous. So that's just the way I laugh. This year, Rick and I were both recovering from some pretty significant injuries. I was involved in a car accident. Have some issues with my neck and my back, which I'm still addressing right now. So moving around heavy stuff like a combat robot's real difficult for me to do. And, I was not in the best of shape. And Rick was injured far worse than me. He was actually run over by a truck. It collapsed his chest, and he's got all kinds of physical injuries. And so it was good to have a couple of really good matches. It was good to get that first win in the round of 32 against Mad Catter. And it was good to see us pull together and do well. And we had fun. We had a good event, and we're getting back there. We'll be ready to go again for next season.
Andrea wants to talk about Whiplash versus Huge. So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I love this match because after seeing Huge go up against Hydra, where Hydra just avoided fighting it because it was so afraid of that weapon, Whiplash was the other extreme. Whiplash was riding right in the middle of that weapon to get it stopped for the same reason, because he was so afraid of the weapon. He figured smashing it with his face and getting it stopped was the best hope of not letting it spin up a lot of times.
Yeah, but I think you point out a difference in both the driving style and in the general robot construction between Whiplash and Hydra. Hydra's super low to the ground and very slow and methodical and patient. Whiplash is, balls out all the way from the get-go, and so they can just kind of stay up in their face. They're both very well armored, and admittedly, there are more Whiplashes in the world, in terms of spares and stuff than there are Hydras. So I get them being a little bit more cavalier and not being quite so afraid of damage. But even still, it's the more aggressive approach, which I like.
And Whiplash is actually perfectly suited to fight a robot like Huge because they have their weapon on an arm, so they can actually lift up the weapon and hit Huge's undersides, his little underbelly there.
It's true, Whiplash is really one of the only robots that could actually dish damage back out to Huge, because I know for us, for either of our designs, it's actually pretty hard to make contact with the electronics and the guts of Huge.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole kind of basis of their design, I think.
Yeah.
Some people are ridiculous and try to put rakes on the robot and hit Huge up,
It sometimes works, but rakes alone do not win matches. And you have to put a little bit more thought into it than like an hour before the fight. So, because otherwise you end up with bad aluminum from Home Depot and the thing just like gets all tangled and then you get stuck and then you lose and it's a bad time.
I love the Ribot versus Beta because that was like pure cockiness. Oh, we're going to put this vertical armor against a vertical spinner. Now, granted, I don't know if Beta, if they knew ahead of time what configuration Ribot was going to use because it is a modular robot. But if I know anything, it's vertical armor against a vertical spinner. Not a good time.
I mean, like, come on, man. You have this beautiful pyramid of Hardox that's nice and low to the ground and probably could have taken the hits just fine from Ribot, but you put the vertical stuff on there and you have no control.
Right, if we had to fight Beta, I would say the most intimidating part is that skirt all the way around the robot. That's really, really effective wedge.
But it's a built-in stiff arm. It's so shallow that all their robot guts, like if I'm the robot guts here and their wedge is like all the way out here, so there's 8-10 inches, a foot of air between where your robot and your weapon are and the juicy important bits inside of Beta are. I totally agree. That is one of the great things about Beta that I think they're kind of missing the point on by trying to have some special armor just for verts.
Yeah, and honestly, I've spent all season waiting for Beta to really unleash that hammer. I thought that once they were in the tournament, they were going to be a little more free with it, but we still really didn't see it here, even as the match was turning against them.
I think the whole wait for a good hit mantra is starting to bite them in the butt, and you can't wait forever on BattleBots. Someone's going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard, and if you miss that opportunity, unless you get lucky and the judge's decision goes in your favor at 3 minutes, you're not going to win.
For whatever reason that Beta was not firing their hammer, Ribot made sure to make this a really entertaining match, and Beta got some serious airtime.
Airtime was pretty funny. I know someone else who got a bunch of airtime.
Yeah. It was a pretty good fight. I mean,
it was a great fight.
Considering.
You got a really, really big hit on Hydra at the beginning that I was hoping was going to set the tone for the entire match.
I would have loved it to.
But, Hydra flipped you a couple times, bud.
Yes, they did. Yeah, we took the front armor off of HyperShock thinking, okay, we're not going to win the ground game. It's a fool's errand. Hydra's going to win every time. So what can we take off to get stuff out of the way so that we can have a better shot of actually hitting them with the weapon? And I think it worked. We did get that one really solid hit. And we got a couple little grazing shots here and there. And frankly, if the weapon had kept going, we might have been able to pull it off just with that alone, between flips and stuff. And he would have been, probably a little bit more skittish if the weapon was still going. However, the weapon stopped. As far as we can tell, it was probably a little signal wire inside the robot that, after being thrown around a whole bunch, pulled out and desoldered, got ripped off the pad. So all of a sudden, it was no good. But luckily, Jake's a good sport, and so even when it was clear that he was winning, he was willing to admittedly risk it and keep throwing us around for a good part of the match.
Yeah, partway through the match, I see Jake, look over to you and you say, "Tear it up," I think. So giving him basically free reign to go have at it, which is very different from the Slammo fight, who he very specifically asked Black Dragon to back off. So what were you thinking when you asked him to tear it up?
Well, it's a bit unfair to compare those two matches just because being flipped around is a little bit different than someone literally ripping your robot in half. It's not quite the same. The damage that we sustain from a fight like this is nowhere in comparison to something against a spinner. So I get Danby's concerns, but we go into every fight thinking we need to make this as entertaining as possible. We'd like to win in the process, but first and foremost, it's a TV show for us. And we want good, entertaining fights so that we get airtime, so that we can come back, so that we can keep having good, exciting matches. And I know that us saying, no, please don't hurt us anymore, is not going to get it. There's another thing there that I just alluded to, which is it's not risk-free for Jake to keep going after us. There's a non-zero chance that him flipping us around gets him stuck somewhere, or sets him on fire, or something goes wrong, and we win by sheer luck. So the longer you can stay in a match by whatever means, the better. Our Chris roast of the night comes after the Mad Catter and Tombstone fight, when Mad Catter's very slowly inching across the arena.
Well, look at this. Moving. Mad Catter's actually moving. Like an old lady across the street, but it's moving. Excuse me, miss. Are you in need of some assistance here?
Very polite of you, Chris.
For this week's fan question, we're going to mix things up a little bit. We realize that we have some repeating questions we keep seeing week after week about some basic things about how the show works. So we're going to try to answer all of those right now in rapid succession.
I'm pretty I wasn't filming. I could answer these questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, ask away. Come on.
Where is BattleBots filmed?
Oh, well, it was in Long Beach, California. It was really great. It's in a top secret facility.
BattleBots was filmed at an undisclosed location near the Long Beach airport in California. The facility is a massive enclosed building with plenty of room for 90+ robots and the arena.
But it was a lot of fun near the airport.
What is that stick that we see teams turning at the beginning of every match? They put it in the robot and they give it a twist.
Oh, I think it's Blitz.
Most teams use power switches by none other than fellow bot builders, Team Waiachi. The stick you see builders turning is a 5/32" Allen key that turns the switch on and off.
To turn on their Waiachi switches, their power switches.
We see someone from production hand the winner of each match some kind of coin at the end. What is that?
Oh, that's a snack. Greg Munson.
When you win a fight, executive producer Greg Munson comes over to present you with a freshly sanitized winner's bog to signify your win.
Good job. You look hungry. Have a snack.
How long does it take to film the whole season?
It seems like forever. Last time I shaved about 50 times.
Season 5 took just about 2 weeks to film all 14 episodes of the Fight Night and World Championship episodes, as well as the Bounty Hunters episodes on Discovery+.
It was like a 4-year endeavor, but apparently it was only 2 weeks.
Do teams know their fight card matchups ahead of time?
No, we stay up until 3 in the morning.
Teams typically find out their matchups very late the night before, giving them only hours to plan their strategy for their fight the next day.
You're exhausted and you're sleep deprived and you're stressed out because you have to fight Hydra.
Where does all that magic smoke come from?
The magic smoke comes from a lot of things. It could be a clutch.
Magic smoke can have several origins. Small little puffs could be as simple as a very hot motor or speed controller, something rubbing inside the robot that is wearing away, or a slipping clutch. Large plumes of smoke are almost always attributed to lithium battery failure.
Witch Doctor, then it's probably a smoke screen created by LiPo batteries.
We see a lot of teams with different colored bracelets. Can you explain what those are?
Every morning when we got to filming.
This season at filming, each builder had daily temperature checks and health questionnaires, as well as regular COVID tests before being allowed onto the set. The wristband, a different color for every day, signifies they passed their health check and are clear to participate.
Once we passed, then they would give us a new wristband. So every day there was a new color.
Why don't any robots use liquid nitrogen or shoot bullets at the opponent?
Because that's stupid.
Albeit with very stringent rules, projectiles are allowed. Only one robot, Double Jeopardy, has taken full advantage of the projectile rules to fire slugs of metal at their opponents. Liquid nitrogen and any other liquids are not allowed as weapons on BattleBots. Go to battlebots.com/rules to read up on what you can and cannot use.
Do flamethrowers actually do damage to a robot?
No. All the people saying that.
While visually appealing and entertaining, flamethrowers rarely cause damage to their opponent. The only confirmed example of a robot being severely damaged by fire was when Complete Control roasted Bombshell in Season 2.
It looks cool, but it like singed a sticker a little bit.
Thanks for answering all those questions, Technical T-Rex. I mean, we were at the event and that was still insightful.
But I just answered them.
Yeah, but it's fine. We'd rather have Technical T-Rex do it.
You know what? I'm out.
All right, Will, I'm sorry. You can answer next time.
No. I'm not appreciated. You had me answer all the questions. No.
Come on, Will. We're almost done. Just come on back.
Thing of the week is your favorite.
It is my favorite.
All right,
Okay,
come on,
fine.
bud.
Aw,
Come
there
on,
you
bud.
go.
There you go, bud. Didn't you walk off on the other side?
I took a lap.
Okay. Cool off lap.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
For tonight's Thing of the Week, we have... Interview of the Week.
That's a new one.
It's new. That's new.
Yeah, there's a ton of podcasts. There's really been a lot of after-show content, which is great to see the fan base get so involved. But the interview of the week that I liked the most was actually Chris Rose interviewing Faruq on the BattleBots Instagram.
It's something that it's outside the show, technically, but it's a great opportunity to listen to Chris, one of the presenters, the host of the show, talk to all the builders in an ad-lib way and answer fan questions. It's really cool.
Yeah, so if you want to see it, they do it before every episode. It starts an hour before the show, so that's 7 p.m. for us here in the Eastern Time Zone. And they have a different guest every week. So Will's been on it, we've been on it, and it's really been a blast. So let's see some highlights from this week's interview with Faruq.
You are a trained thespian. I mean, like you went to school to become an actor, did you not?
Yeah, man. I've trained pretty much since like the early '90s in theater schools, and then I went to high school for acting and dance. Actually, that's another thing a lot of people don't know me. I dance as well. I went to high school for dance and acting, and I went to college for dance and acting. So I danced for 10 years. In some professional programs, I danced in professional shows and all that. I did ballet, jazz, modern, the whole nine. I'm little Twinkle Toes. Yeah.
Oh,
you didn't know that?
Ballet?
Man, yeah, I got the Port de Bras, plie, ensemble. I know the whole lingo and all that. Yeah. I used to dance big time.
So a lot of people want to know, obviously, about the introductions that you do. So kind of take us through the whole process, start to finish, from where it begins to when it comes out of your mouth.
Right. So, the process definitely starts in the writing room. I'm not in that writing room. We have an amazing staff of writers each and every year, just gets better and better and better. And so they're in there pounding them out, intro after intro. One of the great things I love about it, and this is like one of those things when they say you get a job that's meant for you, is they just write freely. They don't care. They write any type of reference, any type of accents, anything that's just under the moon or under the sun, period. And they write it for me, and I just really love to just get out there and try to do it. So so that they get written, come to me. I go over them, just look at them a couple times. Sometimes I get a good 15 minutes or so if I get them right after lunch or at the beginning of the day. But then other times, sometimes I only got 15 seconds to look at them too. So, I got to kind of riff them off. But and then I just go over them. Like if it's a reference I don't know, I'll look up the reference, master it, do my thing, or I'll just go in there and wing it.
You go 1,000%. Like if it's in there, you are going for it. Did you have a favorite one this year?
Favorite one this year. I can't think of one. A lot of times my favorite introductions over the years have always been either like witch doctor intros, because I get to just be all like gritty and grimy and evil, which is one of the things I want to do. I want to play like an evil character, like a cartoon or a video game one day too. or like for some reason Tantrum. Tantrum has been some of my best intros over the years.
Really?
Yeah, man. I had the first one with when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I had the Brady introduction. That was the Tantrum one.
Yes.
And then I had the one where I actually ran around in the inside the battle
Yep.
box. Yeah, I specifically remember you and Kenny cracking up falling over that one. So,
Dude, I don't know how, like this year because of COVID, you had to do your perch was set up outside of the box.
right.
I have to admit, the box kind of freaks me out because, like, I don't know why I let my mind take me to, like, the horror flicks where all of a sudden the doors will shut and the kill cells start popping out of the ground.
Right.
Do you ever get a little freaked out by it in there?
You know what? Right after the fights, it's like I definitely don't try like to walk on the saws or anything, or like the little pendulum. Or you know what? You know where I used to where it was scary. Excuse me. What was really scary, Chris, is when he had the middle floors. They said would pop up.
Yeah.
And they popped up with enough force that it would flip up. It would push the box up in the air like five feet. Now, I'm under what those bots weigh, and I was standing right on those sometimes. So it's a lot of times where I was like, all right, I hope ain't nobody out there. Hope ain't nobody out there got no loose button. Gonna fall asleep or something. Accidentally trigger this thing because I'm gonna go flying if that's the case. So, so I will say that's the one thing I've been skeptical of. I'm like, all right, where's this? I'm looking for the hinge. Where the hinges are? Because I'm like, all right, where the hinges, I can stay there. That's safe. Because I just know I'm gonna get knocked back a little bit.
Dude, how great would that have been if in the middle of one of your intros you just get popped in the air like Bronco or Hydra?
Right? Could you imagine? Right, that'd be crazy. They should do that. They should do that for like an outtake. Put like a stuffed Faruq dummy in the middle and do it.
I like it.
That'd be awesome.
I'm in.
These Instagram live interviews are actually really great. I think for everybody, the builders, the show, the fans. And we're actually doing something else. Chris and I just this last week did the first ever live watch party on No Filter Network. There were a little bit of hiccups here and there, but we're excited to do it again. I think this week you're joining us, right? It's going to be a tag team with the Miami teams. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we're excited to join because this is actually different because it's not just us talking at you. You can actually kind of raise your hand or I think knock on the door, right? And you can ask questions face to face. So we'll see you and you can see us.
Yeah, it's super cool. You can join us. You show up on the feed. Everyone can see you. And we just kind of hang out and have a conversation. And we can all watch the show together. So you watch it on your TV or your Philo or whatever you're watching live. And then you have your phone or your computer up. And we all have this like virtual watch party. It's awesome.
So start thinking about your questions and then join us this Thursday on nofilter.net.
This week, before we go, we're doing one more special thing. It's a Tale of the Tape Technical T-Rex merch giveaway.
We know you love BattleBots merch as much as we do, and the only thing better than BattleBots merch is Technical T-Rex merch. So all you have to do to enter is be subscribed to our channel, which you already are, right? Yeah?
If not, shame on you.
And then just comment below with anything you want, and we'll pick our favorite comment and announce a winner on next week's episode.
So that's it for this week's Tale of the Tape. Join us this week on Thursday. There's Matt Spurk on live Instagram with Chris Rose at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing a live watch party on nofilter.net with Chris. And the episode with you guys in it, with Witch Doctor in it, starts at 8 p.m.
Until then, enjoy this montage of dead robots who were eliminated from the tournament today.
Wah, wah. Too bad Deep 6 isn't in this season.
Yeah.
For a deep dive.
That'd be terrible.
The Deep 6
Deep 6 deep dive. This could be sponsored by Deep 6.
That was pretty good. I like that.
It says, I have written here, who's it and what's it?
Who's it and what's it? Before we go for the night, we're doing something special. It's a fan giveaway.
To celebrate some of all this team merch that we have here, we're encouraging. No, that doesn't.
We're not giving away a fan.
Merch. Dang it. All right.
I mean, we could give away like a ceiling fan or something.
We're going to give away to one lucky fan the merch of their choice from the Tale of the Tape collection.
What is the Tale of the Tape collection, Will?
It's the technical T-Rex. It's that jerk who keeps stealing my spotlight. God, dang it. That's it for wow, why are words so difficult? That friggin' T-Rex stole my words.
Technical T-Rex, technical T-Rex, the T in T-Rex stands for technical.
The only confirmed example of a robot being severely damaged by fire was when Complete Control roasted Bombshell in Season 2. And when Chris roasted Kenny in Episode 7.